My friends, every human being has within them the power to rise above the noise, the drama, and the turbulence of life. Yet so many find themselves enslaved by their emotions, tossed about like a ship without a rudder, reacting to every insult, every disappointment, every whisper of disapproval. The man who cannot detach himself from the storms around him will always remain their prisoner. But the man who learns to hold his inner world in check, who learns to detach and remain calm in the midst of confusion, becomes a master over himself, and therefore a master over life. The first truth to recognize is that your emotions, though powerful, are not you. They are the servants, not the masters. The person who surrenders to anger, fear, or resentment has allowed a shadow to take the throne. Yet the person who trains himself to pause, to observe, and to direct his emotions has discovered one of the greatest secrets of power. For calmness is not weakness, it is strength under control. Detachment is not indifference, it is mastery of perspective. The ability to detach begins with thought. Your thoughts shape your emotions, and your emotions shape your actions. If your thoughts are consumed by the actions of others, you will be bound to them, pulled in every direction by what they do or fail to do. But if you take command of your own thoughts and fix your mind upon higher principles, discipline, vision, purpose, you rise above the trivial offenses of daily life. When a person insults you, what power do they truly hold? Only the power you grant them. When a circumstance threatens to disturb you, what is its strength? Only the strength you give it by feeding it your focus. To detach emotionally does not mean to escape life. It does not mean to run away from responsibilities or people. It means to enter into life with a higher perspective, to refuse to let temporary storms destroy your inner peace. The world will always be filled with voices that provoke anger, with disappointments that stir resentment, with losses that awaken sorrow. But the man or woman who is prepared, who has trained the mind to step back and remain calm, stands firm when others crumble. Understand this: every emotion is a signal. Anger signals that you believe something is unjust. Fear signals that you are threatened. Sadness signals that you feel loss. But these signals are not commands. They are invitations to think. You may either accept them blindly and become their victim, or you may step back, examine them, and respond with wisdom. Detachment is the pause between stimulus and response. It is the discipline of saying, "I will not let this moment dictate my destiny." Think of the greatest builders, leaders, and creators throughout history. Were they people who lashed out at every offense? Were they people who lost themselves in bitterness whenever the world disappointed them? No, they were men and women who trained themselves to rise above the noise. They learned to view problems as opportunities for growth. They learned to see insults as reflections of the speaker, not as chains around their own soul. They learned to detach their emotions from the immediate moment and anchor themselves to the vision of their greater purpose. When you are criticized, your natural instinct is to defend, to lash out, to prove yourself right. But detachment says, "Let me observe. Does this criticism contain truth? If so, I will grow from it. If not, I will ignore it." When you are betrayed, your instinct may be to rage, to curse the betrayer. But detachment says, "Let me not waste my power on bitterness. Let me guard my energy for building my future." When you face delay or failure, your instinct may be to despair. But detachment says, "This is not the end. This is a lesson, a redirection, a test of my persistence." Calmness is a fortress. The one who builds it cannot be easily shaken. Imagine a man walking through a storm. The winds beat against him. The rain lashes at his face. But he walks on with steady steps because he knows where he is going. Another man in the same storm is panicked, shouting at the clouds, shaking his fists at the rain. Both face the same conditions, but one is destroyed by emotion, while the other is guided by calm determination. The difference is not the storm, but the mind. You may ask, how can one cultivate this detachment? The answer lies in discipline of thought. Begin each day with the resolve that nothing outside of you has the power to rob you of peace unless you permit it. When someone provokes you, remind yourself, this moment is small, my life is great. I will not shrink my soul to fit the size of this offense. When you feel the surge of anger, step back and breathe. Count the cost of reacting. Ask yourself, will this matter tomorrow? Will it matter in a year? Will it matter in 10 years? Often you will find that what feels overwhelming in the moment is but a passing shadow. Train yourself also in silence. Do not answer every insult. Do not react to every provocation. A wise silence carries more power than 1,000 angry words. The person who keeps calm when others expect an outburst demonstrates mastery that cannot be faked. To walk away without bitterness, to remain composed when others are losing control, is to rise above the level of the crowd and prove yourself a leader of self. Detach also by shifting your focus from what you cannot control to what you can. You cannot control the opinions of others, but you can control the discipline of your mind. You cannot control the outcome of every circumstance, but you can control the effort you give. You cannot control whether storms come, but you can control how you prepare for them. By fixing your thoughts on what lies within your power, you deny unnecessary influence to what lies outside it. There is also wisdom in remembering the brevity of life. Many of the things that disturb you today will vanish tomorrow. The insult you heard will fade. The disappointment you faced will lose its sting. The worry that kept you awake will dissolve into nothing. Why, then, should you sacrifice your peace for what is temporary? Why should you surrender the gift of calm for the sake of a moment that will pass? Detachment is seeing life through the eyes of eternity. I tell you this, calmness is not a passive state. It is active power. The person who remains calm in conflict gains the advantage. The negotiator who keeps his composure wins over the one who loses control. The leader who remains calm in crisis earns the trust of those who follow him. The parent who stays calm teaches more than the parent who yells. Calmness is strength under pressure, and detachment is the channel through which it flows. Do not confuse detachment with coldness. To be detached is not to be without feeling. It is to feel deeply yet refuse to be enslaved by the feeling. It is to love without clinging, to care without being consumed, to engage in life without being destroyed by its hardships. The detached man may grieve, but he does not collapse. He may feel anger, but he does not lose control. He may face fear, but he walks forward with courage. Detachment is not the absence of emotion. It is the mastery of emotion. Consider this: every great accomplishment requires detachment. The writer must detach from the distraction of critics to complete his work. The inventor must detach from repeated failures to bring forth his creation. The entrepreneur must detach from the fear of loss to seize opportunity. The soldier must detach from the chaos of battle to execute his mission. Without detachment, one is enslaved by the immediate. With it, one is guided by the eternal. And remember, no one can disturb your peace unless you allow it. The words of others are powerless until you give them weight. The circumstances of life are harmless until you surrender your calm to them. You hold the key to your own fortress of peace. Guard it well. When provoked, remind yourself, I will not give away my strength. When tempted to anger, declare, my calmness is my victory. When sorrow threatens, whisper, this too shall pass. Every day presents you with a choice. Will you be mastered by emotion, or will you master emotion? Will you live as a prisoner of reaction, or as a ruler of response? Will you be tossed by every wave, or will you anchor yourself in calm? The choice is yours, and with it comes the quality of your life. Detach yourself not from people, but from the chains of unnecessary reaction. Detach yourself not from love, but from the fear of losing it. Detach yourself not from effort, but from the obsession with outcomes. In this detachment lies true freedom. You will live fully, love deeply, and act boldly, yet remain calm and steady no matter what comes. So I urge you, build within yourself this fortress of calm. Guard it as your greatest treasure. Practice daily the discipline of detachment. Train your mind to rise above offense. Direct your emotions instead of being directed by them. And in doing so, you will find a peace that the world cannot shake, a strength that circumstances cannot break, and a calmness that will guide you to greatness. This is the power of emotional detachment and calm. It is not a gift given to a few. It is a discipline available to all who will claim it. And those who claim it will walk through life not as slaves to emotion, but as masters of themselves, steady, strong, and free. Detachment, my friends, is a lifelong practice. It is not achieved in a single day, nor is it the product of one victorious moment. It is cultivated like a garden, through repeated attention, through weeding out unhelpful thoughts, and through watering the seeds of discipline. Every moment you resist the urge to lash out, you strengthen your will. Every time you choose silence instead of a reaction, you grow in mastery. Each decision to remain calm when others lose control adds another brick to the fortress of your character. Over time, you will find that what once shook you no longer has the same power. You will look back at the insults that once kept you awake at night and laugh at their smallness. You will remember the fears that once paralyzed you and wonder why they seemed so large. The storms will not cease, but you will have become the man or woman who stands tall within them. Let me remind you also that detachment frees you to see clearly. A clouded mind cannot make sound decisions. A heart inflamed with anger cannot see truth, but the calm mind perceives with accuracy. It weighs every matter with balance. It chooses wisely where others stumble. How many people ruin opportunities because they reacted in anger? How many destroy relationships because they could not remain calm? How many lose fortunes because they let fear dictate their choices? But the one who detaches, who steps back and examines calmly, sees the broader picture. He sees beyond the moment. He makes decisions that lead not to regret, but to growth. When you practice detachment, you also conserve your energy. Reaction drains you. Every time you give in to outrage or despair, you spend the fuel of your soul on what does not matter. But when you remain calm, you preserve that energy for building, for creating, for pursuing your higher purpose. Instead of wasting days in bitterness, you invest them in growth. Instead of exhausting yourself with battles of ego, you direct your energy toward vision. Calmness multiplies strength, while uncontrolled emotion drains it. Remember, too, that calmness commands respect. People may not always understand your silence, but they will feel its power. The one who refuses to be dragged into arguments demonstrates a strength that cannot be faked. Others may shout, but their shouting exposes their weakness. Others may curse, but their curses reveal their lack of control. When you remain calm, you reveal mastery, and even those who oppose you cannot deny it. Calmness is magnetic. It attracts trust. It commands authority. It sets you apart as one who is not ruled by the chaos of the world. There will be times when you falter. No one achieves perfect detachment in every moment. You may feel anger rising, fear taking hold, or sorrow weighing heavily. Do not despair. Each failure is a lesson. Each slip is an opportunity to rise stronger. Detachment grows not by avoiding struggle, but by engaging it with persistence. The calmest souls are not those who never faced storms, but those who endured many storms and learned to steady themselves through them. So let each day become your training ground. When small irritations come, use them as practice. When delays test your patience, strengthen your calm. When others provoke you, exercise your silence. In this way, you sharpen your mastery one moment at a time. And as the small victories accumulate, you will be prepared for the greater challenges of life. This journey of detachment is not for the faint of heart, but for those who truly seek freedom, and when you arrive at that state where nothing external can easily disturb your peace, you will know that you have discovered a treasure greater than gold, greater than fame, greater than power. You will have discovered yourself, steady, strong, unshaken, and free. Calmness, when mastered, becomes like a shield that guards you against the arrows of life. Those arrows will keep flying: criticism, rejection, delay, betrayal, and disappointment. But the one who learns to detach does not allow every arrow to pierce his soul. He holds up the shield of calm, and what was meant to harm him bounces harmlessly away. This does not mean he is blind to reality. He still sees the challenges, he still feels the emotions, but he refuses to let them define his direction. He chooses his path deliberately, guided by vision rather than reaction. Detachment also creates room for wisdom to enter. Imagine your mind as a lake. When disturbed by constant emotional storms, the water is muddied, unclear, restless. But when you calm the waters, they become still, and in that stillness you can see clearly. You begin to see options you could not see before. You begin to hear the quiet voice of reason that is drowned out by noise. Many people miss opportunities because they live in a constant state of agitation. Their emotions rule them, and they cannot see beyond the moment. But those who detach, those who choose calm, gain clarity that others miss. They see further, they understand deeper, they move wiser. Think of how much suffering in this world is self, created by clinging too tightly to what cannot be controlled. A man spends his nights worrying about what others think, though he cannot command their thoughts. A woman spends her days replaying words of insult, though they have no power except what she gives them. People waste years chained to bitterness, carrying the weight of old betrayals that should have been released long ago. Emotional detachment is the key that unlocks these chains. It says, "I will not bind myself to what is beyond my control. I will not surrender my peace to the mistakes of others. I will not hand over my strength to the shadows of yesterday." There is a profound freedom in being calm when the world expects you to react. It confuses those who wish to control you. It disarms those who wish to provoke you. It astonishes those who live in constant turmoil. And most importantly, it liberates you, for you no longer walk through life as a victim of every circumstance, but as one who chooses his own responses with deliberate strength. Detachment and calmness are not achieved once and for all. They must be renewed daily. Each morning you must decide, "Today I will not give my peace away cheaply. Today I will choose calmness over reaction. Today I will master my emotions instead of being mastered by them." This daily decision, practiced over and over, builds a habit, and habit builds character. Soon calmness will no longer be something you struggle to hold. It will be who you are. Do not wait for life to make things easy before you decide to be calm, for that day will never come. There will always be storms, always be trials, always be moments that test your control. Calmness must be built in the midst of those very storms. It must be chosen in the face of pressure. It must be claimed when it is most difficult. And it is in those moments when others lose themselves in fear or anger that your calmness will shine as true strength. The man or woman who learns to detach emotionally and remain calm walks a different path. They rise above the petty battles of life. They conserve their strength for higher purposes. They gain clarity, they command respect, and they achieve with greater focus. They are no longer tossed by every wave, for they have anchored themselves to inner mastery. And when others are exhausted by constant reaction, they remain steady, strong, and free, moving forward toward their vision with unshakable determination. The truth is that emotional detachment is not a denial of life, but an affirmation of your true power over it. Every second you choose calmness, you reclaim authority over yourself. Every time you refuse to react in anger, you prove that you are not a slave to the moment but a master of it. And this mastery, once cultivated, begins to spread into every corner of your existence. You will notice that your health improves, for stress no longer consumes you. Your relationships improve because you respond with patience rather than rage. Your opportunities increase because people trust those who carry peace within them. Calmness is not merely a private benefit. It becomes a public force that transforms how the world receives you. You may observe that those who cannot detach live lives filled with chaos. They bounce from conflict to conflict, from disappointment to disappointment, never realizing that they are feeding the very turmoil that destroys them. But you need not follow that pattern. You may rise above it. By practicing calm detachment, you refuse to be baited into endless cycles of reaction. You step out of the game that drains others and instead preserve your energy for creation, for building, for advancing. You do not waste yourself fighting shadows. You direct yourself toward the light. And what of love, you may ask? Should one detach even from those they care about? Understand this. Detachment does not mean the absence of love. It means the presence of pure love. For love that clings, that demands, that suffocates, is not love at all but fear disguised. True love is given freely, without chains, without conditions. When you detach, you love with greater freedom, because you are not trying to control, nor are you enslaved by the fear of loss. You care deeply, but you remain steady. You give generously, but you do not collapse when the gift is unreturned. This is not coldness, this is strength. Detachment is also the foundation of courage. For what is fear, if not an attachment to safety? What is hesitation, if not an attachment to certainty? But when you detach, you walk into the unknown with steadiness. You act boldly, because your peace is not tied to whether you succeed or fail. You know that failure is not the end but a teacher, and success is not the master but a reward. In this way, detachment liberates you from both fear and pride. It keeps you balanced, steady, and resolute. Think also of how detachment affects your vision of the future. The person consumed by emotion sees only the obstacle in front of them, but the detached person sees beyond the obstacle. They understand that today's storm may conceal tomorrow's harvest. They understand that rejection may redirect them toward opportunity. They understand that temporary discomfort is the price of permanent growth. This vision is only possible when calmness rules the heart. When you begin to live this way, you will notice a quiet joy arising within you. Not the shallow joy that depends on circumstances, but the deep joy of knowing that nothing outside of you can rob you of peace unless you permit it. It is the joy of being unshaken while others tremble, the joy of being steady while others stumble. This joy is unbreakable because it is not given by the world, and therefore it cannot be taken by the world. So let every challenge become your practice ground. Let every offense test your restraint. Let every disappointment sharpen your calm. In this way, life itself becomes your teacher, and every moment trains you toward mastery. And as you progress, you will realize that emotional detachment is not merely a skill, but a way of living, an inner state that elevates your existence above the storms of life. In the end, the person who learns to detach and remain calm possesses something greater than wealth, greater than influence, greater than applause. They possess self, mastery, and the one who has mastered himself cannot be conquered by the world. In conclusion, the art of emotional detachment and calmness is not an escape from life, but the highest form of engagement with it. It is the power to walk through storms without losing direction, to face betrayal without surrendering dignity, to endure hardship without breaking your spirit. The one who masters calmness becomes untouchable by the chaos of the world, for they no longer live as a prisoner of reaction, but as a ruler of response. And when you reach that point, where your peace is unshaken, your vision is clear, and your strength is steady, you will discover that you are no longer merely surviving life, but mastering it, shaping it, and living it with freedom, wisdom, and unshakable power.